Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump into it, a couple quick links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below, merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. These were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things, they really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter, and they are appreciated. And with that, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? All right, so for a while now, I have been taking some deep dives into the Luciferian agenda, which pretty much encompasses all of the paranormal, supernatural entities and anomalies, ranging from Dogman, Bigfoot, to orbs, portals, anything and everything that is considered paranormal falls under the Luciferian agenda. Hell, I would even say discussions of the Illuminati, the shadow government, the super soldier program, Montauk, and other kinds of just really deceitful programs the government runs. One of those programs would be the super soldier program. And to me, and anything that I have learned about that, is it was created by the shadow government, created by the elites. Now, why? When they've made pacts with the reptilian / grays, or demons is what I call them. One, to also be a tool for the shadow government and the agenda, but also to actually keep the alien or the reptilian and the gray alien / demonic creatures as much in check as we could put them in. I mean, obviously, if there was a war, they would wipe humanity out. They need us, essentially. And Skinwalker in the Pentagon really shows how the paranormal, the most, I guess, mundane paranormal experience, seeing an orb, connects to investigations of UFOs. And certain naval intelligence officers, after investigating the Nimitz Tic Tac UFO, their families saw dogmen, saw shadow people, phantom footsteps, and orbs. So the connection is real. The Luciferian agenda is real. The super soldier program was created to really give humanity I'm not even going to say it balances out, but it gives us a little bit of weight just in case shit hits the fan. The saddest thing about the super soldier program is the government does not care about the super soldier program, the people that are in it, because they don't care about the humanity side. They only care about how they can be used as weapons. James Casbolt was one of the super soldiers that had pretty tragic career and working under the guise of this. So this is a lot of information, and it covers underground military bases, it covers missing children, it covers extraterrestrials. And what it also does is this lecture really validates my opinion on something very dangerous going on in New Mexico. Beautiful state. I've never been there. I've seen pictures of it, just like many of you, but I'd love to go there. I hopefully will be able to. But whatever the attraction from these Greys, the reptilians, to being there, I don't know. But there are a lot of deep underground cities under New Mexico. And they range all throughout that state. And especially in the northern part of New Mexico to the lower part of Colorado. Let's jump into this very informative yet very terrifying information shared by James Casbolt. My name is James Casbolt. I worked for MI6 between 95 and 99. In, and I am ashamed to say, the dreaded Black Ops. Here's a copy of some information. This is on David Icke's Conspiracy Planet, the Truth Seeker website, and many others. I am trying to raise awareness to the public of crimes against humanity that are taking place in deep underground military bases around the world. I'd be very happy if you could share this article. Also, many of the emails are being blocked, so you can email me back and let me know that you received this. God bless you for your great work. In truth, James Casbolt. This information right here that you're going to hear is about underground bases, missing children, extraterrestrials. It also validates my opinion and belief and theory on New Mexico, and the amount of deep underground military bases and the amount of really serious supernatural goings on in that state. Yes, there are others in different states, but for some reason, New Mexico is just a very very dark state. You know, they've got all these deep underground military bases. They've got Draco. They've got Alien Gray. And they've got a bunch of other things that are going on in this state. Yet they chose to use nuclear weapon testing. They were testing nuclear weapons there as well. It's just, a lot of this makes no sense. And it really does point to how uncaring the shadow government is to the human race. They don't care about the population of America, of the world. They could care less about us. After the completion of my last article, MI6 are the lords of the global drug trade, I must now present the full picture as to what the intelligence community drug trafficking money is being used for. I need to do this for many reasons. The truth must come out, and I need to protect my family and myself. If any of us were to come to a premature end, it would only add more credibility to what I am saying. Therefore, by presenting the following, I am protecting myself and my family. Government harassment, surveillance of me has increased since going public with the last article. I believe this has now become a national security issue, and I have had my life threatened. Men situated in a hotel opposite my flat taking photos of me using high-tech, long-range cameras, which use blue lasers. My phone line and my girlfriend's mother's phone line tapped, my information hacked into, and taken off multiple websites and emails from the government, including other agencies and officials that are blocked. I believe this is because I am leaking this information on projects classified above top secret, which I will go into detail. The intelligence-run drug trafficking is only classified secret. This is the information, the start of the information that he wants to share. Hang on, I gotta let the channel's mascot wants to go out. Hang on. My name is James Casbolt. I worked in MI6 covert cocaine trafficking operations with the IRA in London between 95 and 99. My father, Peter Casbolt, was also MI6 and worked with the CIA and the Mafia in Rome in 93 on a covert cocaine and heroin trafficking operation. They also controlled the French Connection. You know, when the Mafia was bringing in drugs, I believe it was from China, Indochina, into Turkey, into France, and then America. Global drug trade run by many factions of the global intelligence community cooperating together, MI6, CIA, and Mossad. You know, there's a trilogy right there, MI6, CIA, and Mossad. Is at least worth 500 billion euros yearly. This is more than the global oil trade. MI6 control many of the other agencies in the world. MI6 created the CIA in 1947 and still control them today. This black ops drug money, or in classic Orwellian terms, MI6 CIA non-appropriated funds, is being used to fund government and military projects classified above top secret. So they're using something that's classified as secret to fund above top secret stuff, which is a crime against humanity, essentially. These operations include huge worldwide UFO cover-ups and the building and maintaining of deep underground military bases. There are many of these bases worldwide. Here's a small list. Dulce, New Mexico. Brecon Beacons in Wales. Los Alamos in New Mexico. Pine Gap in Australia. The Snowy Mountains in Australia. The Nile Ridge in Africa. West of Kindu in Africa. Next to the Libyan border in Egypt. Mont Blanc in Switzerland. Narvik in Scandinavia. Gotland Island in Sweden, and many other places. These projects are being run by a secret, unelected international governing body connected to the UN. There are at least 1,400 of these deep underground military bases worldwide. 131 of them are in the United States, with 2 underground bases being built per year in the United States at this moment. The average depth of these bases are 4¼ miles underground, some shallower, some deeper. These bases are on an average size of a medium city. Each deep underground military base costs between $17 to $26 billion to build, which is funded by MI6 CIA drug money. Each underground base employs 10,000 to 18,000 workers. A nuclear-powered drill is used to dig underground. This drill goes through rock at a tremendous rate and literally melts the rock away to form a smooth glass-like surface around the edges of the tunnels. On May 20th, I personally received information from a former member of the NSA, National Security Agency, through a third party. I wish to protect this man's identity, and so I will call him G. This is the first time this information is being made public. G is subcontracted by the NSA in the late 80s and worked for the NSA until 92. He was a senior electrical engineer in the Los Alamos underground base in New Mexico. G also worked at Alamo Gordo, deep underground military base in New Mexico, and an underground military base in Hawaii. He said Los Alamos base goes 2 miles underground and is the size of a small city. While there, he witnessed rows of caged humans, tall gray aliens, and reptilians. G says the NSA is very hard on all the subcontractors and people who worked very hard under severe conditions. According to G, the United States federal government, the United States Air Force, and Department of Energy run the Hawaiian Deep Underground Military Base he worked at. This base goes down 2 miles and stretches out into or below the Pacific Ocean. It was here that 3 very tall and muscular Nordic-looking men, according to G, were reptilian-human hybrid because their eyes would shift into having vertical slits for pupils, chased him along the motorway there and threatened to kill him because he had overheard them talking about some piece of high technology. Understandably, G had been emotionally scarred from these experiences and does not like to talk about them. I was also told on May 23rd that this source, that in June there would be a huge amount of HAARP engineered earthquakes on the west coast of America, and that the deep underground military bases there had already been evacuated and shut down. This was 100% accurate because between the 21st and 28th of June, there was at least 400 earthquakes on the West Coast. I shared this information on Godlike Productions forum on the net, and within hours, the post had been hacked and taken down by the government. By executive order, the NSA is exempt from these laws, which do not specify or specifically name the NSA in the text of law, which basically means they can do whatever they want and are answerable to no one. This is because of this interaction with the extraterrestrial species and its twisted view that the people are children and cannot handle the truth. There is currently an internal war raging in the global intelligence community regarding the alien agenda, or the Luciferian agenda. This is between negative and positive factions. From my understanding, one of the main negative factions is a group centered around MI6 and the CIA called Aquarius. This group is covering up the truth, blatantly lying and discrediting or murdering anyone who gets too close to exposing them. There's also a positive group centered around naval intelligence called COM-12, which has leaked accurate information regarding the alien/Luciferian agenda into the public eye. When the missile, not plane, hit the Pentagon in 9/11, it hit a naval intelligence section of the building. This was all part of the internal war between Aquarius and COM-12 being played out in real life. So really quick, I just want to take a second and point something out. Now, what he says, many people may not agree with, all right? But it makes a heck of a lot of sense if you really think about this. When a missile, not a plane, hit the Pentagon on 9/11, it hit naval intelligence, right? COM-12. Aquarius is essentially the negative faction. CIA, MI6, the kind of deceitful ones. Naval intelligence, Bill Cooper, Phil Schneider worked along with them. And a lot of people believe that Phil Schneider worked for the CIA. No, he was assassinated by the CIA. But here's something. Skinwalker at the Pentagon, they were all naval intelligence, right? They were the ones told to investigate the Nimitz Tic Tacs. They get back from that investigation. They go to Skinwalker Ranch, report to NIDS. When they come home, they are not attacked but their families are. Dogmen were seen, shadow people, shadow humans, phantom footsteps, and orbs. How do you control something? How else do you control something besides destroying it, but by terrorizing their family? So that essentially is probably why Axelrod and everybody else who investigated that or their families were targeted, to shut them up, to just don't talk about it. We're in the middle of a secret war. It makes a heck of a lot of sense if you think about it that way, right? Who controlled these shadow people, big Dogman, Bigfoot, orbs, this and that? The Aquarius, the Luciferians. They are the ones that are controlling the negative factions. All right. Sorry. Aquarius has also enlisted the help of Hollywood and the mainstream media to twist the facts of the alien agenda and blind the public to the truth. Sir Martin Wakefield Jacomb was director of the Telegraph newspapers in '86. He's also connected into MI6 and involved with laundering MI6 drug money throughout the Bank of England. Jacomb was the director of the Bank of England from '87 to '95. Former head of the CIA, William Casey, was head of the council of the media network ABC. Many insiders refer to ABC as the CIA network, which, like I said, this information is 19 years old and it matches up to what is going on now, because the gray and reptilian aliens working together with the military in the underground bases is called MIEC, Military Industrial Extraterrestrial Complex. This is a malevolent organization, as you shall see soon. There's also benevolent ETs on the planet. These groups are not part of the MIEC and are from Pleiades, Andromeda, Lyra, Procyon, Tuceti, Sirius A, and Umo. These groups seem to work together in some kind of protective federation. February 20th, 1954, a delegation from these groups met with the Eisenhower administration in an unsuccessful effort to reach an agreement with the United States thermonuclear weapon program. The stumbling block to these negotiations was that the ETs were not willing to provide technology that may have been used by the military-industrial factions of the Eisenhower administration. These peace-loving, human-looking beings refused to be co-opted into the emerging military-industrial extraterrestrial complex, MIEC, in the United States, Britain, Russia, and elsewhere on this planet. On July 11th, 1934, the first treaty with the Greys from Orion occurred aboard a naval ship in Balboa. This was one of the most important events in human history because it thrust us into a role that we were not prepared for as regards to being a host to a malevolent extraterrestrial race. The United States federal government disregarded the Constitution of the United States by doing this and not telling its people. It was here that the agreement was first made between the Greys representing the reptilians from Orion and the representatives of the United States intelligence community. The treaty stated that in return for the Greys providing high technology, anti-gravity, metals and alloys, environment, free energy, and medical technology, the government would allow the Greys to proceed unhindered with human abduction. This was only if the list of abductees was provided to the government and the abductees returned unharmed and their memories of the events erased. In 1944, the second extension of the treaty was signed. There's very little details on this. May of 1954, again, under the Eisenhower administration. The third extension of this treaty was signed, called the Greta Treaty. The Greys, the reptilians, blatantly broke the terms of this treaty, as we shall learn later. The Greta Treaty was agreed upon at the Holman Air Force Base in New Mexico by the Greys and the Ultra Unit of the NSA. The original document of this treaty and the materials from it can be found today at the NSA facility called Blue Moon underneath Kirkland Air Force Base in New Mexico. The entrance to this underground base is in the Manzano Mountains. Also at this location is the technological base of secretive Department of Energy. Today, free energy devices developed from the gray and reptilian technology are being built to use in space at the DOE base. April 15th, 64, 2 intelligence personnel met under Project Plato with the Greys in New Mexico desert to arrange a meeting on April 25th at Holman in New Mexico. This meeting was to renew that treaty again in a psychological bid to buy time in order to solve the problem of the Greys and reptilians. A true nightmarish situation is now unfolding. Philip Schneider, a geologist, a structural engineer, and underground tunneling expert for the United States government and the UN, he participated in the construction of many dumps in North America and many other countries. Phil was murdered by the CIA January 17th, 1996 in his apartment in Wilsonville in Portland, Oregon. In 1979, in Dulce, New Mexico, Phil Schneider was drilling into the desert there to build an auxiliary base in the southern end of Dulce on top of an already existing underground base there. The already existing base had been built by the government in the 40s under the Operation Blue Note, but afterward had been taken over by the Greys and reptilians. Over a period of 2 days, Phil and his team had drilled 4 holes in the desert that went down several thousand feet. One of the holes kept bringing up dust or dirty dust, putrid odors, and broke off machine bits that were sent down in the hole. Boring machines and lasers came back damaged when they were sent down there. A probe was then sent down and came back up totally missing. Eventually, people were sent down. Phil was the first to go. He was lowered down into this cave, and when he got there, standing around 10 feet away, there were 2 7-foot-tall Greys. He became petrified and managed to empty a full magazine into his pistol into the Grey. As he was reloading, one of the Greys hit Phil with some kind of particle beam weapon, which gave him a very high dose of nuclear radiation poisoning. Similar to cobalt radiation, but even worse. Phil's lung was burnt out of him. He had a huge scar running down the center of his chest, which he shows at lectures while are available on video. His fingers on his left hand were burnt off. His bones are burnt. He is basically cooked. He was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 days. In the cave, large metallic vats were found filled with human body parts, generally glands. In those vats were high-tech stirring devices that stopped the blood flowing. Sorry about that last. He was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 days plus. In the cave, large metallic vats were found filled with human body parts, generally glands. In the vats were high-tech stirring devices that stopped the blood coagulating. In Aztec, New Mexico, on February 13th, 1948, a crashed flying disc was retrieved by the United States military. The craft was 100 feet in diameter. It was made of a light metal resembling aluminum and contained ET reptilian bodies. A large number of human body parts were also found aboard the craft. The above top secret lid was screwed down on this even tighter than the Roswell to stop mass panic. The very next day after the crash was probably shot down by the military. The government bought up the property from local landowners. Witnesses in Aztec observed covered military trucks going in and out of the area for days after the crash. The craft was transported to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The disc incorporated large rings of metal which revolved around a certain stabilized cabin. There were no rivets, bolts, screws, or signs of welding. People in Aztec carefully guarded their words as to the accounts of the crashed disc. The Aztec citizens are still being monitored by the military to this day. One elderly woman said her husband watched the military trucks go in and out of that crash site for days. She said she was very nervous about the whole thing and didn't want to talk about any of it other than her husband. Seeing military vehicles, she was asked if she believed there had been a UFO crash. Her response, if something hadn't happened out there, how come the military rushed right in? Why was it covered military trucks going in and out of that canyon? Why did they deny being there? And why were they buying the near and surrounding land where UFO supposedly crashed? This is interesting here. In Cambodia, 1972, at the height of the Vietnam War, a United States Special Operations team out of patrol came across a group of alien creatures loading various human body parts into large metal containers and sealing them. A pitched battle ensued, which resulted in fatalities on both sides. As the soldiers pulled back, the aliens quickly retreated to their craft, taking the bodies' parts with them. As usual, major cover-up. It was quickly enforced. One of my contracts in Wales, who I will call D to protect his identity, was approached by an elite intelligence organization called Group 5-8. This group was formed by Margaret Thatcher in the 80s to work at the sites of crashed ETs in Britain. This was the first time of this information is being made public. Even though Group 5-8 was formed by Margaret Thatcher, it is a United Nations group. The Group 5-8 men called George showed up, my contact, UN identity, UN holograms on it. George then drove D to a clandestine meeting on a motorway service. It was here that George showed D photographs of human mutilations they had found near heavily guarded Beacon, deep underground military base in Wales. These photos were taken at a sealed-off area where the UFO activity had taken place. The photos showed a girl of 16 and a boy of 20 who had their areas removed. Their eyeballs, their lips, and directly half of their skin was gone. George said Group 5-8 regularly found camper vans around this area where the occupants had vanished. Dee understandably had nightmares for weeks after this, and was soon after followed by a high-tech American utility van with blue lights underneath it. I believe this to be an NSA van. Days after, Dee had his life threatened over the phone. The call was anonymous, but told him to keep quiet or his house would be burned down with him in it. George then called Dee and told him that his life is in danger and to get the information out as soon as possible to protect himself. The next day, a gas man turned up, pulled out his ID the moment the door was opened, walked in, and checked the meter. When he left, a fire broke out, which nearly burnt down the house with Dee and his wife inside. The house was wrecked, and the fire brigade said the fire had mysteriously started in a bin in the room where the gunman or gas man had been. After this, Dee, another man, and himself were investigating reports of deep underground bases and missing children around the small village of Zanor in Cornwall. There had been many sightings of alien beings on the cliffs since the 60s, and many UFO sightings around that area, and a large amount of covert military action. Some of the UFO disappeared into the ocean there, according to witnesses. 2 years ago, Devon and Cornwall Police Project Classified Secret had gone on. This was a dig for a mass grave of children by the police. They had traced the reports of many missing kids in the area. This is classified information, and Dee managed to get a hold of it from his own contacts. Once again, this is the first time this information is being made public. For what I can contact, once again, this is the first time this information is being made public. From what I can gather, the police did not find any bodies, and the digging area was walled off to the public. I believe the police were looking in the wrong area because the activity seems to be coming from the underground. When the poet D.H. Lawrence stayed in a small cottage in Zanor, he had heard explosions coming from a deep underground. Aleister Crowley, an MI6 agent, spent much time in Zanor. He's already stated MI6 and CIA were heavily involved in the alien agenda, and I believe Crowley was up to his neck in it. You know, I purposely, a long time ago, made this, and I've shared this before, that Crowley supposedly summoned this creature or demon, Lamb. What does Lamb look like? Lamb looks very similar to an alien gray. Crowley had performed many rituals in the cottage in Zanor. There seems to be a close connection to Satanism and these greys and reptilians. Yeah, because it's the Luciferian agenda. And Crowley was not a Satanist. He was an occultist, but he was not a Satanist. And many people will believe that he is, just because that's what the internet tells you. But, I mean, if you really want to find out who he was, the writings of Crowley, one of these books, this book, The Writings of Crowley and the Diary of a Drug Fiend, 2 Crowley books, doesn't talk about Satan. He was an occultist. So, but I do agree with what he's saying here is, yes, there is. And some people may say, you know, well, he summoned a demon. Yeah, he did. He did. But once again, there's a difference between what Crowley was doing and Satanism is. Anton LaVey was a Satanist. Crowley was an occultist, demonologist, freaking adventurer, mountain climber. Whatever that man did, he did it. Or whatever anyone could do, Crowley did it. He was... And I don't agree with what he says or what he speaks or spoke, but if you really think about everything that he had done, it's quite interesting, but terrifying in the same sense. And I think it's weird that Crowley, being an occultist, had a tie to L. Ron Hubbard. Just real weird if you think about it. Crowley was also at Montauk in New York when the project was in full swing. There's a quantum energy grid line that runs from Montauk to Zanor, and the Zenantol ancient stone walls in Cornwall. After the fire at Dee's house, everything had gone quiet for a few years, when all of a sudden, after 2 days into our missing children investigation at Zanor, Dee had men outside his bedroom window shining lights in it. This is an intimidation tactic used by the intelligence agency. I've only scratched the surface of what's going on in Zanor. There's not room to go into it. The bigger picture will be made public soon. So what's going on with the human mutilations and missing people? Truth of matter is the Greys and reptilians feed off the glandular secretions and hormones through a type of osmosis. This is why major organs are taken from people. Your mind may want to go into denial that this is happening, but if you start digging, you will find this to be 100% accurate. Researchers Bill Hamilton and Tal Levesque, or aka Jason Bishop, received reports from workers at the deep underground military base in Dulce, who worked there in the 70s, when it was being jointly run by the CIA, reptilians, and Greys. This was before the ETs completely took over the base and kicked the humans out. The workers said Dulce facility goes down at least 7 levels. Level 6 is privately called Nightmare Hall amongst workers. They tell of bizarre experimentation, multi-legged humans that look half human, half octopus, reptilian hybrids, furry creatures with hands like humans and cries like babies, and that mimic human words. Also, large mixture of lizard humans in cages, several cages with winged humans, 3.5 to 7 feet tall bat-like creatures, gargoyle-like beings. On level 7 are thousands of rows of humans in genetic human mixtures in cold storage, humanoid embryo storage, vats of embryos in various stages of development. So what are they describing there? If you think about that, sounds like they're describing a Mothman, a large, hairy, bipedal creature that mimics human language and cries like a baby. Well, we don't really know what that is. It's not a Bigfoot and it's not a Dogman, but we've heard multiple stories about creatures like that. Other workers said they witnessed scenes even more terrifying than this and refused to talk about them. One worker told Bill Hamilton, "I frequently encountered humans in cages, usually dazed or drugged. But sometimes they cried and begged for help. We were told that they were insane and involved in high-risk drug tests to cure insanity. We were told never to speak to them at all. At the beginning, we believed them. Finally, in 1978, a small group of workers discovered the truth. Thomas Castiello, another American hero, was one of the security officers at Dulce. Thomas worked 7 years at Rand Corporation in California. He was transferred to Dulce in 1977. He estimated there were more than 18,000 short grays at Dulce, and also saw tall reptilians. Thomas knew 7 levels, but said there could have been more. He said the aliens were the levels of fire. Levels of fire, aliens. Levels of 5, 6 and 7. The lower you go, the higher the security clearance is needed. The only sign in English is above a tube shuttle. So that tube shuttle, only sign that's in English and not in strange alien writing, it says to Los Alamos. And it's, you're there. It travels at Mach 2.7. Most signs at the facility are in alien symbolic language and universal systems. Tom Castiello said below the 2nd level of Dulce, everyone is weighed naked and given a uniform. Any change in weight is noted, and if there is change in weight of 3 pounds or more, people are x-rayed at the infirmary. That's just absolutely terrifying. That's just, man. He said the aliens were on levels 5, 6. Damn it. That is the tube shuttles. There are other shuttle connections. Dulce went to Page, Arizona, Area 51, Nevada, Taos, Carlsbad, Datel, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, Creed, Colorado. Oh my God. I'm right about that. Like, I'm not saying that I'm like, oh my God. Castiello smuggled many things out of Dulce before he escaped. See, I knew all this about Castiello and I've shared this, but that part about the connection to Dulce with those pods, some of them right in New Mexico themselves. Like, how insane is that? The headquarters of the secret international governing body in charge of dealing with the ET phenomenon in Geneva, Switzerland. The ruling body is made of representatives of governments involved, as well as executive members of a group known as the Bilderbergs. As I have said, the British, American, and Russian governments are working very closely together because of the gray. Tigger scared the shit out of me. What's up, buddy? Yeah, I don't know if you guys heard him talk. What's up, buddy? Huh? Want to say hi to everybody? Huh? Yeah. Oh, there's the buddy. Good boy. All right. The headquarters of the secret international governing body in charge of dealing with the ET phenomenon in Geneva, Switzerland. The ruling body is made of representatives of the governments involved, as well as the executive members of a group known as the Bilderbergs. British, American, and Russian governments are working together closely. Although the situation is horrendous that these governments have shattered into panicked factions, some of which have sold out and are directly helping the Greys and the Reptilians. According to a very credible United States government insider, Bill Cooper, another American hero, the most important meetings of this secret international governing body are held by the Policy Committee on a nuclear submarine beneath the polar ice caps. The secrecy is such that this is the only method to make certain the meetings cannot be bugged, and is the only place they will discuss the biggest secrets. It would be wrong and cruel of me to present his information without presenting a full picture. The Greys, reptilians from Orion, have been involved in an ancient war with the benevolent Pleiadians and other groups. The Pleiadians are very powerful and are the guardians of the solar system. I personally do not believe they will let the Grey reptilian agenda fully unfold. They have helped us in the past. They are helping us now and will in the future. My whole belief is if these Greys and the reptilians are demons, then the Pleiadians are the angels. That's the way I look at it. I really do. I mean, to me, it makes sense. Jesus Christ is my Savior. I believe in Jesus 100%. I believe the Bible is, and the commandments are a way, are teachings, but are a way that we are God's words to how we should live our lives, But if by chance, here's the thing. Let's say you're not Catholic. Let's say you're not Christian, but you're Native American or you're a Buddhist. I don't know. Or you're an atheist and you live somewhere in, wherever, and you see these alien Greys come out of nowhere, right? Or you see these demons and then you see angels. Well, the only thing you're going to think of is, holy shit, they just came out of the sky. They must be aliens. These must be the good ones. These are the bad ones. Huh. I mean, it's probably not how it is, but to me it makes sense, and I like to make sense out of things. Because I think if things make sense to me while I'm researching it and learning it, then I will want to research and learn more on it. I know this because I've had many paranormal ET contact experiences since a child. There is no room to go into detail here, but this is covered in the above top secret presentation. Investigative journalist Dave Starbuck, type revelation audio visual Dave Starbuck into search engine to find. Above top secret would be I think it's the David Icke, the biggest secret, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, to me, that would be the most, makes the most logical sense. This is interesting right here. In 1989 in Westchester, New York, which was the site of numerous UFO overflights and reports of human abduction at the time, over 3,000 missing children reports surfaced. After extensive investigation by the local police department, the children were not found at red light districts or centers for runaways. Researchers and law enforcement officials were baffled. There's also a CIA finder's case. This involved negative factions of the CIA directly involved in child kidnapping. This was revealed in 87 U.S. Customs report. Customs and police raided Washington, D.C. warehouse that was used by the CIA. There they found a set of instructions broadcast via computer network which advised the CIA to move huge amounts of these kidnappees originally held in warehouses to keep them moving across jurisdictions. There were instructions on other things that I'm not gonna... The destination for these children in the instructions was New Mexico. The Albuquerque Journal ran an article entitled, "Why New Mexico Has So Many More Missing Children Comparable to the States Remains a Mystery." Much of this activity is centered around New Mexico, where Dulce Underground Facility is. So, it's... Holy Jesus. Listen to this. Joseph Mengele stayed at the China Lake base. China Lake. I have done an upload on China Lake. A subscriber has shared information with me and you about a facility in China Lake. The facility had been hit by an earthquake and was just devastated. But the China Lake facility is a major weapons producer. One, it's an inland naval facility. It's like landlocked. Why would Navy, ocean, not the desert of freaking California. But, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But I've had a subscriber, he believed he saw these creatures coming out of this China Lake facility all around the mountainous region of that area. Whew. My goodness. So Mengele was there. That's right there in itself a terrifying... That right there is enough information to really creep me out for the night. It's... So that right there is the connection to the paranormal, the cryptids, and all of that. And I think I pointed it out. I really did. I think I believe in that trilateral commission is what it's called. The Luciferian agenda. But when they were talking about the Aquaries and COM 12, it's very interesting that Axelrod and his other companions were looking into the Nimitz Tic Tac, and instead of them being targeted after, they targeted the families. And when you target people that are cared about, that's, let's say you are Axelrod. You could be threatened. Someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, stop investigating this. We're going to wipe you out." He'd probably be like, "Bullshit, I don't care. Wipe me out." He's already he's in naval intelligence. He knows how to deal with that kind of, torture and interrogation. But does a family member? No, a family member doesn't. A family member is going to shit their pants. And that person, like Axelrod, knows this. So maybe that's why he kept quiet for such a long time. I don't know. But the connection's there. The connection's here. If people can't see it, if people can't see the connection between all of the paranormal, any kind of umbrella where this shit falls under, then to me, if you can't see that connection, then you may need to research more. And, I don't know. I really don't know. Or it's perfect. It's in plain English, It's to me, that's scarier than a fucking creepypasta. To me, that's scarier than some stupid AI video of a staticky looking Dogman running through the woods, But who do you think those videos are made by? You think they're made by Joe Norm or the elites to keep us laughed at. I really honestly think that it's not Joe Norm that's making those videos. I think it's the CIA. To have us look even more crazier than we are. Or how we are viewed. Anyway, guys, thank you for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps this channel to continue to grow and go. And what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, our family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.